Once upon a time, in a small town nestled in the heart of a dense forest, there lived a man named John. John was a solitary person who preferred to keep to himself and seldom interacted with his neighbors. He lived alone in a quaint little cottage at the edge of the woods, surrounded by nothing but trees and the occasional wild animals that roamed around. One day, while taking a walk in the woods, John stumbled upon a small puppy lying on the ground, whimpering softly. The puppy was dirty, malnourished, and looked like it had been abandoned by its mother. Feeling a sense of compassion, John picked up the puppy and took it back to his cottage. Over the next few weeks, John nursed the puppy back to health, feeding it and giving it a warm place to sleep. The puppy grew into a big and healthy dog, and John grew attached to it. He named the dog Max and took him for long walks in the woods every day. But as time passed, John noticed something strange about Max. He had an unusual ability to sense things before they happened. For instance, Max would growl and bark loudly before a storm hit, or before John's neighbor would knock on his door to ask for a favor. John was curious about Max's abilities and began to train him to see how far they could go. He would place objects in different parts of the house and ask Max to find them. Max would always find them, even if they were well hidden. John was amazed at Max's abilities and began to wonder what other secrets the dog held. One day, John woke up to find Max missing. He searched the entire house and the woods, but could not find him. As the day wore on, John became increasingly worried about Max. He knew that Max was a smart dog and could take care of himself, but he also knew that the woods were a dangerous place, especially at night. As the sun set, John decided to head back to his cottage. Just as he was about to open the door, he heard a strange noise coming from inside. It sounded like someone or something was moving around in the house. John slowly pushed the door open and walked in, cautiously. The house was dark, and John could barely see anything. He felt his way around, trying to find the light switch. As he reached for it, he heard a low growl coming from the corner of the room. It was Max. He was lying in a corner, growling and baring his teeth. John was taken aback. He had never seen Max act like this before. He slowly moved towards Max, trying to calm him down. But as he got closer, he saw something that made his blood run cold. There was a shadowy figure in the corner, looming over Max. John could not see the figure clearly, but he could feel its presence. It was sinister and malevolent, and he knew that it meant harm to him and Max. He tried to back away slowly, but the figure moved closer, and Max growled louder. Just then, the figure lunged at John, knocking him to the ground. He felt a sharp pain in his side and realized that he had been stabbed. He looked up to see the figure standing over him, brandishing a knife. John knew that he had to act fast. He reached for a nearby lamp and hit the figure on the head with all his might. The figure fell to the ground, and John quickly got up and ran out of the house with Max by his side. As they emerged into the moonlight, John realized that the figure was none other than his neighbor. The same neighbor who had been asking for favors and borrowing things from him for months. John was stunned. He could not believe that his friendly neighbor had been plotting against him all along. He called the police, and they arrived shortly to arrest the neighbor. As John and Max sat outside, Waiting for the police to finish their investigation, John realized that Max's ability to sense danger had saved their lives. If it had not been for Max's warning, John might have walked into the house without realizing the danger that awaited him. From that day on, John and Max became inseparable. They had been through a traumatic experience together, and it had only strengthened their bond. John also realized that Max's abilities were not something to be taken lightly. He had a special gift that needed to be honed and used wisely. John started to train Max in different ways, using his ability to help people in need. Max became a search and rescue dog, helping the local police and fire departments find missing people and even sniffing out drugs and other contraband. People in the town began to appreciate Max's talents, and he became somewhat of a local celebrity. But John knew that Max was more than just a talented dog. He was a loyal friend and a protector who had saved his life. The incident with John's neighbor had left him shaken, but it had also made him more aware of the people around him. He began to interact more with his neighbors and even started a neighborhood watch program. He wanted to make sure that what had happened to him would never happen to anyone else. As the years went by, John and Max grew old together. Max's abilities began to fade, and he became less active. But John never forgot what Max had done for him and the impact he had made on his life. Max passed away peacefully in his sleep, surrounded by John and his family. John knew that Max had lived a long and fulfilling life, and that he had left behind a legacy that would never be forgotten. The story of John and Max became a legend in the town. People talked about their bond and Max's abilities for years to come. Some even believed that Max had supernatural powers, and that he was a guardian angel sent to protect John. But John knew the truth. Max was a dog, a loyal and loving companion who had made his life better in so many ways. He was grateful for every moment he had spent with Max, and he knew that Max would always hold a special place in his heart.